Assalamu alaikum viewers, welcome to my channel The Faiza Edits. Today I'm cooking a goat stew in my electric skillet, and trust me, this is one of those recipes where the skillet truly shines. The skillet I'm using is the Crux electric skillet 12 by 12 inch with a 3-inch depth and a 6 quart capacity. Today I'm cooking a little over 5.5 pounds of goat meat, and this is exactly why I prefer the electric skillet over my 6 quart Instant Pot. Even with the same capacity, the surface area and depth of the skillet let me cook more meat comfortably and evenly. Before we start, on my channel you'll find sewing, alterations, knitting, crochet, easy meal prep, product reviews, and practical mom lifestyle hacks. If you're a busy mom like me, you're in the right place. Today I'm sharing how I make kids-friendly goat stew using an electric skillet. So let's start cooking. I'm turning on the skillet now and it heats up super fast, so make sure all your ingredients are handy. I'll add a small amount of olive oil. Well, actually, skillets are supposed to support healthier cooking with less oil, but let's be honest, Pakistani dishes cannot be completed without oil. Like, you cannot have an oil-free, oil-free Pakistani dish. Anyways, what this skillet does help is to reduce the oil significantly, that's for sure, without compromising on taste. Next, I'm adding black cardamom and giving it a quick saute to release that deep aroma. Traditionally, stew is made with whole spices, but my kids really don't enjoy biting into them, so my approach is to add only the essential ones for flavor. Next, I'm adding store-bought fried brown onion. There are different types of store-bought onions available at the Asian stores. In the beginning, I did not know the difference about them, but now I do know, and I have done a detailed video on that. It's available on my YouTube channel, so if you are picky about the smell, then please go check that out. The one I'm using right now is onion fried without any coating. It's definitely a huge time saver when you use the store-bought onions. But since they are already done, they just get done super quickly, so you cannot leave it unattended. I stepped away for a second to check on my baby, and you can see why you cannot step away. Next, I'm adding all the goat meat at once and giving everything a really good mix so the flavors start coating the meat evenly. I'll saute the goat meat until the raw smell completely disappears and the aroma of the fried onion is deeply absorbed into the meat. You'll notice the color changing from a pinkish red to a light brown. This step only takes a few minutes, but it's very important for building flavor. At this stage, I'm adding ginger garlic paste. I'm quite generous with it because I don't like any raw meat smell. So this really helps enhance the flavor. Give it a good mix and let the meat cook for a bit so it absorbs that ginger garlic aroma. So I have cooked it a little over a minute and now the raw smell of ginger garlic and meat itself has gone away. Now I'll be adding the spices, and remember I am using the grounded spices because my kids prefer smoother bites, and if you're a mom, I'm sure you'll definitely understand. So now I'll be adding red chili powder to taste, about 2 pinch of cumin, salt to taste, and turmeric powder. Then I'll give all these spices a really good mix so that the spices get cooked as well. And be very careful because we haven't added any water, so you don't want the spices to get burned or the meat to get burned. So that's the time when you have to really give it a good mix and don't leave it unattended. And now comes the queen spice of this recipe, whole red chilies. This is the second main ingredient that really defines the flavor. I did add some chili powder earlier just to keep the bites smooth, but if your family enjoys biting into whole chilies, feel free to add more at this stage. In fact, you should be adding all the whole spices at this point, but I'll be replacing those all with the powdered garam masala, powdered grounded whole spices. Right after adding the turmeric, I'm pouring in some water to let the meat cook. Keep in mind, the main flavor of this dish comes from a generous amount of onions, and onions release a lot of water on their own, so we don't want to add too much water here, just enough to help the meat turn tender. As you can see, the goat meat is submerged. The meat will release more moisture as it cooks, and we'll also be adding yogurt later on, so be careful not to overdo the water. Now we'll cook this with the lid open until the water reaches a boil. The electric skillet does this pretty quickly, and you can already see the water bubbling. The overall texture of this dish is slightly thick, not a runny gravy, so once it starts boiling, we'll cover it and let the meat cook until tender. To speed up the tenderizing process, I'm closing the steam hole in the lid with a piece of foil. This helps retain the steam inside and allows the meat to cook faster and more evenly. Meanwhile, while the meat is cooking, let's prepare the onions. I'm using a full bag of yellow onion and there are 5 medium-sized onion in this bag. I'll most likely use all of them or at least 4, and I'll let you know as we go. For reference, I have the same brand in another bag, but those onions are small. That's just to show you that what size I'm using in this one. I'm slicing the onions by hand today because my favorite hand chopper has a very thin slice blade and I want the onions to be slightly thicker for this recipe. So here you can see I have sliced all the onion and I've actually used 4 large onions and 1 small one. And just to give you an idea about the thickness, you can see I'm holding it in my finger so that you can get an idea. So I hope that's going to help. This is basically the king ingredient of this recipe. So you need to have thickly sliced onion for this specific recipe. Okay, so it's exactly been 20 minutes. It was cooking, and now let's open and see if the the meat is done. What we basically want over here is not to completely tender the meat. It's more like about 85% of the meat should be ready, should be tender, because we have to add onion and we have to add yogurt, and both will also help tenderize the meat. So you don't want it to get done completely. So what I basically mean is that I'm trying to show you that it's the meat is done, but it's not done completely. Before adding the onions, I'm going to add the yogurt first. Anytime you're adding yogurt to a dish that's already cooking, the best method is to turn the stove or skillet completely off. Then add whisked yogurt and give it a really good mix. This step is very important because it helps the yogurt dissolve smoothly into the gravy without forming any lumps. Once everything is nicely combined, you can turn the heat back on. Now I'm adding all the sliced onion. I'll mix everything well and let this cook for about 10 minutes. We don't want the onion to completely dissolve into the gravy, so I'm cooking this with the lid open. At this stage, I'm adding a cinnamon stick and some ground garam masala. The whole spices, ground whole spices. You might notice that the stew looks a bit darker in color, and that's completely normal since we are using ground spices. The color naturally turns deeper. If you're using whole spices instead, the gravy will appear lighter. Now all we need to do is to just let this cook until everything comes together beautifully. If at any point your meat is not tender enough, you can simply cover the steam hole with foil, place the lid on and let it cook until the meat becomes soft and tender. Once the meat is perfectly tender and you have the amount of gravy you prefer, it's time to garnish. I'm adding some fresh cilantro and serrano pepper on top. Ideally, you would slice the serrano, but honestly, being a mom isn't always that easy. So we'll just let the green chilies simmer whole with the cilantro and enjoy that beautiful aroma they release. And just look at this. Using very little oil, the goat meat is completely cooked to perfection in this electric skillet. I absolutely love how this skillet not only cooks evenly but also doubles as a serving dish, which means fewer dishes and less cleanup, something every busy mom can appreciate. Another reason I really enjoy cooking in an electric skillet like this is because of the space. My Instapot, even though it's a 6 quart, wouldn't comfortably handle this much amount of meat, especially when there are larger bones involved. With a wide skillet, everything cooks evenly and there's enough room for proper mixing. If you're interested in this skillet, I have shared the affiliate link to this skillet in the description box below. It's truly a great kitchen addition. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to stay connected with my channel. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video.